What's up, snake fans? Dave Palumbo here for Muscle Serpents Daily, and I'm in the snake room. It was a long night last night, a lot of feeding. I was feeding snakes that usually go, 8 weeks without eating anything. So I the boas and the carpets have been fasting for almost 2.5 months now, so I figured I wanted to put a meal into them. I gave them a very small meal, the males and the females, just so they, some of them didn't take it. Some snakes will not eat during breeding season. Some will. If they want it, I offer it, especially the males that look like they maybe get a little skinny, showing a little bone. That spine maybe sticking out a little too much because they're maybe working real hard to breeding those females. I want to get the little nutrition in them so they don't get sick or anything like that and get run down. So we did that. So that was a late night last night. I did, while I was going through snakes and feeding, I looked at my Russo red hypo sterling females, and I was like, holy mackerel, these things are spectacular. I got to do an update on some of this stuff that I did this past season in 2020 to show you guys what's going on. I know I haven't listed any of these boas yet, but they will be going up soon. But I want to show you some of the projects that are involved in, and I'm going to make a couple of snakes, 2 snakes available that I never thought I was going to let go. But look, we always said you can't keep everything, right? So let's go into the snake room, which we're in the snake room. That's very convenient. Let's go and take a look at some of the parents of the litter that I'm going to show you. And then I want to show you some spectacular babies that have some amazing future potential. All right, here's my hypo, possible super hypo, Russo red pastel, sterling boa. She's, like you can see, a patternless boa with amazing reds and red saturation in there from the years of Russo actually creating the Russo red pastel line, just breeding the reddest boas to the reddest boas. He bred his reddest boa to a sterling, created hets. I've told you this story before. I bought a pair from him. They had the hypo also in there. He bred a hypo form of his red boa to a sterling, and now we have these possible super hypo Russo red pastel line sterlings. This female I produced a bunch of years ago, breeding her this year for the first time. Her sister went last year, and it's an interesting matchup I did. I bred her. This is, once again, I don't really know what to expect. I bred her to a leopard het albino. Okay, now the reason I did that is because obviously leopard is a very busy pattern with darkness in it, and sterling is no pattern. So I wanted to see, what the leopard might do to the sterling. So obviously we're going to produce double hets, leopards. Sterlings, if she goes, it looks like she might be ovulating actually. And it'll be interesting to see if it takes. Obviously we're going to get hypos. If she's super hypo, we'll get all hypos. So, and the het leopards are kind of cool anyway. They got some cool patterns. So the baby should look cool, but they're all going to be double hets, obviously. Then the next generation is going to be where we're going to see what a leopard sterling would look like, possibly. So it's an exciting project. I'm going to show you in a minute, what her sister produced last year. We did a really interesting breeding. I bred my Paradigm Blood to her sister, and we produced some triple hets. We're going to take a look at them and see how they're progressing. All right, here's the father of that breeding. This is a leopard het call albino. He's a proven breeder. He's made some very nice leopard albino stuff for me, and I produced him here about 4 years ago, and he has been, I was going to sell him originally. I'm glad I didn't. He's a terrific breeder, a really beautiful looking leopard in his own right. No hypo in here, just leopard het call albino. So we're going to see. You can see how dark the leopard is and how busy the pattern is. So it'll be interesting to see what he can, do with that sterling. Obviously, this is a long-term project, but you gotta lay these projects down and let them happen. If you don't do it and make the jump and produce the double hets, it never gets done. Someone's got to do it, So, trying it. All right, here's the one of the first babies I produced. I only produced 5 babies in this litter. But they're all triple het, and some of them are hypo. So this is hypo. baby right here. And she is triple het, so that's sterling she's het for, which is the patternless boa. She's het for blood, which is obviously the reddish, dark red, blood gene. And then she's para het, which means that she's either 100% het sharp albino or 100% het boa woman caramel, which is a T positive line of albino. We won't know until we breed her out which she got from the mother, because from the father, because the father was a paradigm blood, so we know all the babies are going to be het blood. But because he's paradigm, which means he's 100% het sharp albino and 100% het boa woman caramel at the same time, these two genes line up on the same allele, and they give us that super-like form, the paradigm. The trick is when you breed these, they can only give one of those genes, so we're not sure which one this little girl is going to have. But she's really nice looking for a hypo triple het. She's got some good color, nice saturation. You can see the saddles are disturbed because of the blood gene in there. And I always say that the het sterlings never look normal either. They're always you could always tell they're a little different looking. And of course, the sharp albino you really don't see a difference in, but not too much at least. Now she just ate, so I don't want to disturb her too much. You can see her belly is nicely red and saturated. That's the hypo gene in there. And of course, she's got Russo red line pastel in there. How much she's going to have is going to really, I think we're going to have to see what the next generation is, and as she gets older. She does have a lot of red saturation in her. Like I said, I wanted to lift her up. I don't want to disturb her too much, but there's a lot of reds in her. So I would call her Russo red pastel as well. Now look at this female. She is spectacular. Look at the saddle disruption there. Obviously het blood involved in that, but she's absolutely hypo too. Hypo disrupts saddles, we know as well. So the two of them together makes wacky lines that are dashed and dotted, and I see this a lot in my het sterlings that I produce, or my hypo het sterlings I produce. Obviously, this girl, she just ate also. I want to just show you her tail. She got that almost striped tail. That's absolutely het sterling right there. Not as much red saturation in this girl as the last one, so I don't know if I would call this, this would be absolutely a low expression Russo red if it is at all. Once again, I'm gonna have to wait until it gets a little older, but she definitely is, there's no doubt that there's hypo and het blood working here. We know they're all triple hets, so it's just a matter of whether she's het for boa woman caramel or het for sharp albino. We won't know because of that. That's why we call it para het. So she's spectacular too. Love that head spear. I find that the sterlings have really, the het sterlings have really nice head spears. This little girl is, whew, look at the dorsal patterning on this. How nice is that little swirl there? Hypo, het sterling, het blood, para het. I believe there's a pretty nice Russo red influence here as well. You can see some reds in here. I find the Russo red sometimes takes a little longer to come in, on the hets at least. But she's nice. She's really nice, this one. This is certainly a holdback for sure for me. Almost a completely striped tail. It seems like in boas, at least, even maybe, I don't know, maybe in other python morphs and other morphs as well, you might see this. But definitely in boas, when you have a striped tail, a lot of times that's an indicator of a patternless recessive kind of peeking through in the het form. Not always, but when you know that there is, it's for sure. Like I had a couple years ago, I produced some possible het sterlings. There were 66%ers, and the striped tails all proved out to be 100% het. So it's a pretty good indicator. We know these are all 100% het, so it's interesting. Not all of them have striped tails. That's why it's not always perfect. But when they do have striped tails, that's usually a pretty good indicator. Once again, a lot of nice saturation in here of color. Really nice eyes on the snake. She'll let me get in there. This is another female. Let me show you the one male that we got in this litter. All right, here's the one male. So he's obviously going nowhere. He's staying here. I'm gonna put up two of the females for sale. So if anyone is interested in getting into this project, I'll produce more males. The females got to grow anyway for a couple of years, you know, before they're ready to breed. I'll produce more males next year. So we'll have some triple male, triple hypo, triple hets to breed to these females. It's always not a good idea to have just one male. I want another backup myself, so I'm going to repeat that breeding next year. Same mama, same daddy. I gave the girl a year off, so we'll do it next year, and then we'll have some more males. But this female is, this male is really nice. Once again, you can see the really reduction in the saddles. That's that hypo gene interacting with the het blood. Really nice red saturation in in that tail striping. It's broken up, but it's still you know, you can see the continuity of it. A lot of contrast. I could see the reds in this snake I would call Russo red for sure. Once again, you see the Russo reds a lot more in the sterlings, the visual sterlings. I'll show you those in a minute. Especially when you breed Russo red to Russo red, which I did, you know, with the original mother, and you've seen that litter. I have a lot of Russo reds, pastel, hypo, sterlings. I'll show you them in a minute. But this is a different litter, obviously. Look at that nice eye. Head spear, once again, really, really dynamic head spear. And once again, this boy is, thank God I got a boy. Once again, I definitely have to produce more because I got too many. I have 4 females and 1 male, so I'd like to get a couple more males. I like to put one-on-one with the boas, to be honest with you. I really don't even feel comfortable doing 1 boa male to 2 females because I'm always afraid I'm going to miss the window because you don't really catch them breeding they don't breed like rabbits. They're not, and you never know when the right time is, so it's better just to leave them in there. So if you have 1 male for 1 female, it just seems to work better. All right, let's take a look at some more stuff. I just wanted to show you this baby. This is from another litter. This is the original mother. This was a hypo Russo red pastel het sterling female that was bred back to her son, who was a hypo Russo red pastel visual sterling. And this is the litter. This is probably one of the best things. This is one of my holdbacks. This is Russo red at its finest. You can see the red saturation throughout the body. You see our dark head too? The sterlings have dark heads. Okay, when you add hypogene in there and you add Russo red, obviously it lightens them up a little bit. But they tend to have dark heads in the visual patternless form, which I like. I think it looks kind of cool. But look at the tail. Look at the body. How much red is saturating this body. And once again, there's no pattern to disrupt it. You can see even on the bottom. She just doesn't want to disrupt it too much, but she almost looks like she's got the blood gene in her. Obviously, with those hets we just showed you, those triple hets, we're trying to get blood into this. I have some other, you know, projects I got from Chris Gilbert that might get blood in there before, but you get blood, sterling, and then, you know, maybe sharp albino or paradigm or BOA and caramel. That would be even more red. So that's a future project. But for now, I mean, look at this. I just wanted you to see how there's no blood. That's Russo red, line bred pastel. And when you breed, you know, Russo red to Russo red, you're going to get a lot more reds than we got in the last litter. The last litter has some Russo red in it, but not to the high expression of this female right here. And this little girl is a hypo Russo red pastel het sterling. It was produced in that same litter as the last female I showed you. She's going to my friend Pablo, who bought her. He'll be picking her up probably in the next, you know, couple weeks. And you can see the red saturation in this snake. I mean, this is not just from hypogene. This is tremendous, tremendous Russo red influence here. Once again, both parents were Russo red, so you're going to have a much greater chance and a much higher expression of that Russo red, you know, in there. Look at the tail, just tremendous amount of reds. Really nice looking female. So even in the head form, you're going to see it. And when you breed Russo red pastel to Russo red, once again, if you're breeding red snakes to red snakes, you're going to produce red snakes. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. on the sterling project and all the great stuff we can do with it. Will we hit a blood sterling sharp albino or blood sterling paradigm? Who knows? Somewhere in the future, I know I'll hit it. That's the goal. You got to lay the groundwork now. You got to do the work. You got to put in the time. You got to produce hets that maybe are not the most glamorous looking things, but they got the future potential. That's the power. It's the future potential to produce stuff that's never been made before. So that's the goal. Hopefully you guys like the project. If anyone wants to get involved, hit me up. I'm going to make 2 of those females that I showed you in the video available for purchase, so people can get involved in this future project, which is exciting because, you know, it gives you one step ahead of everyone else out there. All right, if you like what you're seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, hit the like button. We'll see you back tomorrow morning.